So now that we have an understanding of what strings are, how to put them together, how to assign them to variables, how to display them to the browser, there's a lot more that we can do with them. But for that, we'll need to look at some string functions. So let's do that now in this movie. We're going to first have a new file that we can work with for our functions. So I'm going to do a save as on my strings file and go ahead and create a new file called string_functions. There we go. And I'm going to change the title of it to also be string functions. And I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of all of the PHP that we had typed before. So now we have a good, clean workspace. I'm going to start by pasting in 2 strings. You can go ahead and copy these down if you want, or you can use your own strings. But I've got first string equal to the quick brown fox, and the second string equal to jumped over the lazy dog. And you'll notice that I've got a space right before the word jumped as well. Now that's simple enough. And we've seen how to do basic concatenation already. There's another kind of concatenation where we can actually append something while we're assigning it. Let me show you what I mean. Let's create a new variable called third string. And let's set it equal to first string. And that does what you would expect. It sets third string equal to the same value as first string. In other words, the quick brown fox. But now, let's append the second string on there. And we're going to do that by using a period equals notation. So it's the concatenation that we saw with the period preceding an equal sign with no space in between them. And then we'll put in second string. Now, if we echo back the third string to our browser, we'll go back to our Firefox and we'll load up string functions. And I saved that file before I jumped over here. Then we'll see the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Now, string 1, if we test it, first string is still going to be equal to this. And second string is still going to be equal to this. Third string is going to now contain a new value that is the combination of the two. It didn't do anything to the first one or to the second one. It just used their values to construct third string. But third string now has this value, and we could work with it as well. Now, there are functions that we can apply to strings. And we're going to talk a lot more about functions later on. But for now, what you need to know about functions is that they're like echo, where we told it to echo a string. We're going to instead apply another method onto strings. Let's look at a few of those that are going to affect the way strings display. So let's take a look at a few of those now. We've got string to lower, which is the function you'll see right here, that is going to make all of our string into lowercase. We have string to upper right below it, which will make it uppercase. And then we've got a few others, UC first, which will make uppercase of the first letter of the entire string, or uppercase words will do the same thing to each of the words there. And we can go ahead and look at that in our browser and see what it does. We'll save the file. And sure enough, you'll see that it applied those alterations to the string. Now, we went ahead and had echo, which is one function, applied to another function, which is string to lower, and that's fine. Functions can interact with other functions, no problem. And we'll talk a lot more about that later when we get to more advanced concepts. But we've gone ahead and told it to perform the string to lower and then echo those results back to our browser. Besides these functions that just affect the uppercase or lowercase part of the string, we have a few others that are going to be useful to us. We have string len, strlen, which is the length of the string. You're going to find these abbreviations will become more familiar to you as you learn the language. Remember, you can always look these up on the php.net website. The same way that we did a search for echo, you can do a search for strlen to find out exactly what it does, or you can browse through the list of string functions until you find the one that's right for you. So you don't have to remember these right from the start. But string length is going to return the length of the string, or how many characters does it have in it. And then we've got the trim function, which is going to take all of the extra white space at the beginning or end of the sentence and get rid of it. And we say white space, remember, we're talking about blank spaces, character returns, tabs, anything like that. So our second string is what we applied trim to, and that had a white space at the beginning, the space before jumped. So that'll be eliminated before we concatenate it with first string. Now, notice here that I'm actually doing an assignment between first string and the trimmed version of second string into fourth string and immediately echoing that assignment back. Now, we haven't done that before. Up until now, we've been doing an assignment of a variable like we did up above when we did third string equal to first string. on one line, and then we've been echoing it back in a second line. But we can combine those in the same way that functions can interact with other functions. Echo can also interact with the assignment that takes place and echo that value back. And then the third of those is finding a string within a string, and it's called strstr, which might not immediately jump to mind as find, but it is string within a string. That's how you can remember it. And it's going to take our third string and look for the word brown inside of it. And then the last one is replaced by string, and that's str_replace, and it's going to replace the occurrence of the word quick with the words super fast in the third string, and it wraps third string around there because my code is a little big. But yours will probably be all on one line. Again, white space doesn't matter. We can make the code break whenever we need it to. So I'm going to go ahead and save these and see what they do. Go back to our browser. We'll load them up, and it gives me that the length of the string is 45. It trimmed out the space, so now fox and jumped smashed together because there's no space between them. And you'll see that it found the word brown, but it didn't just say, yes, I found it. It actually returned everything from that on. So it did find it, it found the word brown, and then it gave us everything that followed that in the string. And then replace by string took the words quick and replaced it with super fast, just like we would expect. So these are just a few of the many functions that you can apply to strings. I'm not going to give you an exhaustive list of all of them. The main thing that I want you to understand is that you can work with strings in this kind of way, that you can find out the length of a string, that you can transform it in different ways, that you can set strings equal to other strings and manipulate them, because we're going to want to be able to work with strings and variables in this kind of a fluid way. If you're curious to try a few more, I've put up 4 more strings for you. The repeat string, which just repeats a string several times, making a substring by taking a starting and ending position, finding the position of the word brown in the third string instead of returning everything after it. Tell us what position it's at. Give us a number. And find character, which will find where a certain character occurs inside a string. The php.net website has a lot more of these. You're going to end up going there a lot. You're going to end up referencing them, looking them up. Make notes for yourself. Write them down over to the side so that you remember what these things are as you use them. You may not use a lot of these all the time. They may come up, maybe once per project. But the overall point that I want to drive home is that you can do manipulations on strings. And now we're ready to look at the next type, which is going to be numbers. And we'll do that in the very next movie.